Good to see this full house tonight. Wish we could see this every month. I will call this meeting of Mayor and Council this July the 10th, 2018 to order at 6 p.m. First order of business is to have our invocation, and that will be by Council Member Danny Carter, followed by a pledge of allegiance by me.
Please rise.
Bow our heads, please. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings that we receive each and every day. We ask your blessing upon our country. We ask it upon our leaders, that we may truly come together and make this the nation that our forefathers envisioned, truly one nation under God. We ask that you be with us tonight as we conduct the business of our city. Lead, guide, and direct us on the things, decisions that we make. Help us to do what's right for the city and what's good for the citizens of our city. These things we ask in your Son's holy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, first on our agenda, we have some ceremonial presentations we'd like to award at this time. So if I could get Jacob Brown, and I didn't see Michelle Capers. Is Michelle here? And Christopher Rowan.
It's not on over here either.
Well, as you can see, these two gentlemen work for our police department, and I'm going to get Captain Parker to come up here and introduce them and kind of tell you a little bit, but I'm going to brag on our police department, and I don't want to steal Captain Parker's thunder, but we've had a rash of break-ins, car break-ins in our community, and our police department has done a tremendous job behind the scenes working with other agencies, and Captain Parker's going to give you a little bit of detail on that. But I am so proud of our men and women in blue here in Bill River. They do a great job of keeping us all safe. So the two gentlemen that I've got up here right now, Jacob Brown has been with us 10 years, and Christopher Rowan has been with us 5 years. So it seems like I've known both of y'all forever, but I guess that's just the way it is in the business, right? So we want to thank y'all for your commitment. So Jacob is first.
As part of our 5-year anniversary, when you've been with the department 5 years, you get your badge. Badge number on the issues. Give you that. And talk just a few minutes about these two. Jacob, our most accident-prone officer.
Accident-prone.
He's worked several divisions for several years in the department. He's been a bicycle officer, motorcycle officer, he's a corporal on traffic patrol, he's worked night shift patrol. He's a great asset to the city. Officer Rowan, retired from the Navy after 20 years, has been with us and has been incredible at our elementary school. We tried to get him out of that school, put him somewhere else. He does a great job. They sure do love him out there. We appreciate it.
If you want to have your families come up individual, we'll get a photo of that.
Good-looking family.
Snap away. See, it's falling like you got. Yep.
That becomes torture rather than a recognition.
And last but certainly not least, and Michelle, I've known Michelle seems like, I guess when I first started working with the rec department, we've been working together. Michelle Capers, please come up. Michelle works for our library department division, and she has been here through the not so good, and through the good, and through the better. Now that we've got our new library, all through that journey, Michelle has been the go-to person. And anytime I needed information about anything to do with the library, in the absence of Vicki and other people over there, Michelle was the person that I would call. So Michelle, thank you for everything that you've done for the city. Congratulations on the new library, and we expect big things. You got this week. I told Michelle she had to do it for me, she went, no. Thank you. And last, we have Caroline, is it Caroline Cox? Our newest member on the Main Street Advisory Board. If you would come forward, I will swear you in at this time. We're like friends, you come to every council meeting, so see, that's what happens when you come to council meetings. You raise your right hand, and I'm going to read this, and you can just say out there at the end. I, Caroline Cox, do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully perform the duties as an appointed board member of the Main Street Advisory Board. I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due to this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof. I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States or any state or any foreign state which I, by the laws of the state of Georgia, are prohibited from holding. I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia. I will perform the duties of my office in the best interest of the city of Billerica to the best of my ability without fear, favor, affection, reward, or expectation thereof. Your term is, is that right? Okay. So your term is until December of 2018, and then we'll do this again. Congratulations. Fun. Well, you gotta say I do. I'm sorry. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Will. Sir. Just for a second.
Okay, council members, you have the agenda as printed before you. I would like to ask, before we get any other additions to this, that I want to make a few comments under council updates. Well, I don't guess I need to put that on the agenda because we just make that. So, are there any additions to the agenda as presented?
Nope, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Presented.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? It is unanimous. Okay? We have reached the public comment portion of our meeting. Anyone wishing to give public comment, please do so at this time. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Larry Horace, 115 Maple Valley Drive, Villarica, Georgia. I'd like to give a happy report tonight. We need some good happy news, don't we? Okay. It deals with one of our old kicking buddies, animal control. And in Maple Valley subdivision, Mrs. Mims and I had a very interesting experience over about the last 6 or 7 weeks, where we had peacocks come visit us. And the peacocks decided that they wanted to stay. Code enforcement was contacted, please try to find out who these peacocks came from. And the peacocks were to not be claimed by anyone, but the mysterious rumor came back that they were from Mirror Lake. And we all went, no, they're flying the wrong direction here. They actually kind of look like they came from the west. So Mrs. Mims called the animal control, and who were very prompt and very thorough. It took a couple tries, but in the end, we got them. It took a female in heat, basically, to catch the little devils, but they were trapped, and they are now safely at their new home in Alabama, at the petting zoo. So if anyone cared to go, they're in Alabama. But animal control does need to be given a pat on the back and a thank you from the citizenry of Villa Rica, because it is, you know how we all chase, the dogs barking, they never come. Dogs barking, they come, it's not our problem. Yada, yada, yada. This time, it worked. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The peacocks from Alabama. Sound like a headline to me, Ken.
Good evening, Council. Kim Porter, 6 North Avenue, Villa Rica. Sorry about your peacocks. Glad to get it taken care of. Just a couple of quick things here. None of this personally affects me, but it's things that I've seen that are not quite what they should be, I think. I lived off of Chief Street, North Avenue since 2004. I have come out Chief Street, I've come out North Avenue, every possible street so many times, and I've bragged about this a couple of times. When people park on 61, 101, that little strip section right there, the 2 blocks, you can't see. Council, I'm sure, knows that there's a minimum of 3, possibly 4, mentally not competent adults that walk through town all the time. One of them almost got hit. That needs to be taken care of. People should not be allowed to park on that main street. It's dangerous. So that's one thing. The second thing, I have a question. I am part of the Historic Commission for Villa Rica, and I was noticing that there's been a tremendous amount of wall work on the cemetery. I don't know if that will, comes under the purview of the Cemetery Commission, which I know there is one, this Historic Commission or what, but the materials, they don't match. It looks odd. So that's just, something I want to throw out there. And I guess that's pretty much it. Just wanted to make my thoughts known. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor and Council, my name is Matthew Mumptan, 263 Augusta Woods Drive, Villa Rica, Georgia, 30180. 3018. Yeah, that's right, 30180. Is that not working? Very good.
Much better.
Matthew Mumptahan, Villa Rica, Georgia, Augusta Woods Drive, 263 Augusta Woods Drive. As council knows, I'm the president of the Main Street Board, and I want to just take an opportunity to thank you for your continued support of downtown, for swearing in Ms. Cox and considering her application. And is there anything we could do for downtown, and if you have a concern for downtown, we would like to know so we can put it in consideration of our board as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Kurt Kraft, 2406 Ridge Lake Drive. Last time I came up here a month ago, I reported a crime of false swearing to you, the council. To make it easy, I included a legal definition of false swearing, a copy of what the girl told the Better Business Bureau, and the police report where she changed her story to Detective Finley. As of today, I have received no response from anyone at the city. This is the second time I've reported a crime to you with the same result. The last time I asked for a GBI investigation, and these crime stats that I'm fixing to show you prove why one is necessary. I'm now asking for a GBI investigation on the crime of false swearing. I'm also asking for another open records request involving all false swearing incidents that occurred between July 1st of last year till July 10th of this year. And also the number of crimes reported from January of this year to July of this year in the city limits of Villa Rica. because I've been doing this pretty much on my own, trying to figure out what's going on. Y'all published a thing here that said, if you want to see what crime reports are, go to this crimereports.com, which I did. And while I was looking for more white collar stuff, I was kind of shocked at what I found. Since the start of 2018, Villa Rica now has the same crime rate, according to this website, as Decatur and East Point. This is a crime prevention problem, is what I see. 4% of Villa Ricans have been a victim already in the past 6 months. Again, according to the website, 615 incidents, which is about 3 crimes a day. At this pace, this is only 6 months into the year. At this pace, 8% of all Villa Ricans by the end of the year will be victims of crime. What if one of these victims is one of your friends and family and not just a number on a piece of paper? So in other words, you stand the same chance of becoming a victim of crime in Villa Rica, Carrollton, which I checked them out too, Decatur and East Point. I'd like to think that a part of this is, first of all, I want to state that I don't think it's an officer issue. The guys in the field, I think, and the ladies in the field do a great job. I think there's a reporting problem here in the city where if someone isn't even replied to, and I've heard this from other people that I've talked to, and they're ignored, then that could be a contributing factor. What I'd like for y'all to do, I made a number of copies, and what I did, if you could pass that, please. I picked cities like Douglasville, Carrollton, Decatur, and East Point. The good news is Douglasville is worse than we are. They're at 8%. My thing is that when I went to that website, I did it Sunday night, and the numbers were different than as of today. And so one of the things why I didn't want to rail on this is that, I mean, it was close, but the numbers changed. So one of two things, either we're in a lot of trouble being as bad as East Point or Decatur, or there's something wrong with the website. So I just want to be fair about this. So I included the crimesreport.com, and what I did was I took the number of incidents and I divided by the population, and I got those stats, and I listed that there from suburbanstats.org. Took the incidents divided by the population to get a percentage. So in addition to my situation of false swearing, I want to hear back on that. I would appreciate also hearing back on the stats, which I included in the open records request. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
John Mount, 15 Rockmart Road. I've served on Planning and Zoning Board, and I'm on the authority, the Industrial Authority Board, and I've served on the RSVP and done a lot of things. And I would just like to say that I feel like that the council and the mayor really need to pay attention to those plans and follow them. I see a lot of things that are going off the rails or not following the plans. The butterballs seem to be one of them. The last meeting I went to was there was only 25 people there for the comprehensive plan, so it's telling me that the population is losing faith in the ability to what they say will be followed. And so I think people put a lot of effort into these, and I think it's worthwhile to follow up on what they say when these plans get put in place, that they be followed. The downtown development plan is a perfect example. You allow businesses to do what they want when they should be following the plan that the DDA put together. So that's what I would like to comment on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, we will move on to council updates. And if council will indulge me, I have a couple of things that I want to include in the council updates. One, we found out today that Christopher Pike will be leaving us in a couple of weeks. He has accepted a position with South Fulton. And Chris, I'm not going to put you on the spot and have you come up here, and I won't do a PowerPoint presentation on your tenure here, but I would like to take this opportunity to thank you personally for educating me during the time that I was the mayor here. We didn't know each other prior to that, unfortunately. I wish I had have. And, but you have done a tremendous job with the city of Villa Rica. And on behalf of the council and the citizens that don't get a chance to tell you that, thank you for everything that you've done for the city of Villa Rica. Your memory and your footprint will be here long after you leave. And our loss is certainly South Fulton's gain. And I mean that sincerely. So thank you for everything that you've done. And the second thing, if I could ask Captain Parker to come up for just a minute. As I alluded to when we were giving the officers the awards for their tenure here, we have had a rash of break-ins in our communities here, and not only Villa Rica, but Temple, Bremen, Tallapoosa, Waco, all the way into Alabama, Anniston, Alabama, I know. And the whole time that this was happening, you know, we were working, the police department was working on this, and we were working with other departments. We had, I don't know how many different agencies we had working from this area, but I know there were a lot. And so I have asked him to come forward and give us an update on that.
Our investigators are putting a lot of hours into this, and not to give away too many details, but right now we did not have anyone charged, but we do have several suspects. It's believed to be a gang. Some are in custody, some will be in custody soon. But we do believe that we've got most of ours will be tied up within a few weeks. But it's taken a lot of investigators with a lot of agencies working together with this.
This was, without giving away information, this was gang-related
Yes.
out of another county.
To be under the Organized Crime Act.
Okay. All right. And I would just urge everybody, thank you, Captain Parker, for that, and just stay here just for a second. But one thing that I saw, and believe me, I probably received 30 or 40 personal emails and texts and calls from neighbors in the area. And one thing a lot of them seemed to have in common was people were leaving their cars unlocked. And so please remember to keep your cars locked. And if you have possessions in your car, even if you have them in the driveway, if you don't leave firearms in your car at night. That's too big of a target, and that's what they're looking for, unfortunately. And so hopefully we've thwarted this effort, but it doesn't mean the crime's over with. And I am very concerned with crime in the city of Villa Rica, as is the police department and our council. And just kudos to Captain Parker and the folks that I know were working behind the scenes 10, 12 hours a day with other agencies trying to put all this together. And it was very important for us to do that, to work with these other agencies, because the difference in charging someone with a break-in and entering as a misdemeanor is a lot different than you charge them with RICO Act, which is a felony. And that's why it was important for us to work with other jurisdictions to make sure that happens. So thank you, Captain Parker, and everybody that had something to do with that. Council, any?
Ditto what you said. Just appreciate all the work they put.
Yeah, okay. City Manager's report, Mr. Barber? What happened?
I think you got an old version. No, my version has it too.
You know what? It is that way.
This is the fourth agenda I've had now, y'all.
Well, let me go back just a minute while we talk about this, because
This is on the table.
this is more of a housekeeping issue, and maybe staff can work on this to bring back to us at our next work session. But earlier today, there was an issue where we had reason to believe an item had been removed from the agenda. Turned out it was an accident, that it was left off. But I want us to have a policy, and I've only talked to a few folks about this, but maybe staff can bring this to us at our next work session, a policy about when changes can be made to the agenda. My personal belief is that no changes are made to the agenda after our work session. Nothing gets added to it or removed without the city manager making that decision, but anything that is removed is not actually deleted, but is actually stricken through, so that we still have an idea of what was on the agenda and discussed on Thursday. I'd like it to look something like that. Others may want to weigh in, but that allows us to be consistent with what we're actually looking at.
Agreed.
Now, here we are tonight. I guess we've got 3 or 4 different versions of the agenda. It's just hard to follow.
Yeah, and I would just echo those, and generally speaking, if we talk about it in work session on Thursday, even if there's a decision, something happens between Thursday and the next Tuesday, I would still like it to be on the agenda, even if there's a line through it, just so we know that everything that we talked about on Thursday is on Tuesday. Does that make sense, Mr. Barber? Okay. All right, so where are we at on the agenda?
Strike the city manager's report.
It goes at the end.
Okay. So, we are at the consent agenda, correct? Yep. Okay. All right, and just for everybody that may not know, the consent agenda is a single item that encompasses all things the city council would normally approve with little comment. Each of these items were discussed at the Thursday council meeting, and it was a unanimous consensus of the governing body to place the following items on the consent agenda. Item number 1, 2018-2019 GDOT maintenance contract renewal. Item number 2, South Carroll Road drainage improvements, and those are bid proposals. Item number 3, partially developed subdivisions / sidewalk requirements. Item number 4, Recreation Advisory Committee appointment. Item number 5, additional funds for construction of retaining wall at Hillcrest Cemetery by DL Masonry LLC. Item number 6, Comcast franchise renewal. Item number 7, lease agreement with Villarica Development Authority for former Georgia Power Building. And item number 8, ordinance to provide information technology fee. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion, a second. Did you get that, Elisa? Councilwoman McDougal, okay. All in favor? It is unanimous. Tab A, governing body. Item number 1 is approval of minutes. Council members, you have the monthly minutes of the June 5th, 2018 meeting before you. Are there any changes? If there are none, then I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second by Councilmember Carter. Discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Item number 2, potential opioid litigation. David, are you going to handle this one?
Yeah, I'll present it, and again, I'm not the lead attorney in this matter by any means, but we have been approached by a group that is currently involved in litigation here in the state of Georgia regarding, and it's a lawsuit against the manufacturers of opioids. The purpose of the litigation is to try and recoup or recover cost that local governments have incurred in dealing with the opioid problem that exists in the state of Georgia. The example that the police department gave the other night was the expense that we've incurred for Narcan kits to deal with people who have overdosed on opioids. There's also other costs that have been expended by some cities. I don't know yet if it has been by the city of Villarica with regard to education, treatment of people that are addicted to opioids. A number of counties and cities have agreed to participate in this litigation. The opportunity has been issued to the city of Villarica to participate in it. I tried to call between the work session and tonight to see if the lead counsel, Andy Davis from the city of Rome, could be here tonight to help better explain it than I can personally, since he is already involved in the litigation. He was not available to be here. But we have an opportunity. This is not particularly time sensitive as to tonight, but it is something that we do need to consider whether we choose to participate or not, to try and recoup any of those costs that we may have actually incurred.
Mr. Matthew,
Yes, ma'am.
in that number 2, should that be county or city? Where it says the undersigned should not relinquish its authority or responsibility through the retention agreement. It has the sole authority to sell this litigation on behalf of the county. Should that be city?
It should be city, yes. I mean, they're signing up, both cities and counties, and I think I provided you the list of cities and counties in Georgia that have already agreed to participate in this litigation. Not something we're required to do, but we are afforded the opportunity to participate if we believe that we have incurred cost that is caused by the manufacturers. The questions have been raised. Does the group have to prove that they have done something wrong? And yes, that is a requirement. And our council believes that that can be shown and proved.
Is it true, that, as I understand it, that we're not on the hook for any money, that it's not going to cost the city?
No, the proposal, excuse me, the proposal is that the case would be handled on a contingent fee basis, and that any money that is recovered on behalf of the city, that the attorneys who are handling it for us would recover 25% of that.
But unless we pass the resolution, we're out of it, is that correct?
Right. I mean, you have the opportunity to file suit on our own, but I wouldn't recommend that.
Is there any reason to believe that this suit would not go forward if we did not join it?
No, it's going forward with us,
Regardless.
without us.
So not joining it doesn't save any great industry that may be somehow, put out by this
No,
lawsuit.
it does not. It's
We
going.
really only have an opportunity to recover our expenses here, but it's not going to cost us any money.
Correct.
Okay.
It's on a contingency basis, so it won't cost us, but the resolution says that we would be affixing our name to, whereas certain manufacturers and distributors, knowing of the serious risk and adverse outcomes related to the use of their products, including their highly addictive nature, nevertheless did purposefully set out to persuade providers, regulators, and patients that their products were safe and effective. I think we can all agree that there is a problem with opioids in the country. I will also say that aside from opioids, according to the AJC Sunday, while we're paying a lot of attention to opioids, the meth is coming out back with a vengeance in Georgia. I'm not sure who will sue on that one. I just think we have to be careful about affixing our name to lawsuits from which we don't have the personal knowledge that company A, B, C, D, E, F, there's numerous companies listed, that they deserve to be sued by us, even though we might get some money out of it.
Other comments? Questions of David? Okay, I'll call the question.
Well, I don't think there's been a motion yet. So
Hello?
would it be more appropriate, or is it appropriate that we would make a motion to adopt the resolution?
Yes.
It's hard to imagine that we couldn't agree on the resolution. So I would make the motion that we adopt the resolution regarding opioid crisis.
Second.
A motion and a second. Do we have that motion?
Yes, it's
For the record?
It's on in your packet.
Yes, the third part. Resolution.
If you want me to, Mayor, I'll read
Please.
the resolution portion of it, so that I'm not going to read all the whereases, but it concludes, now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the city of Villarica finds and declares that there exists a public nuisance related to such products, opioids, and that the city shall pursue such legal action as is available against such manufacturers, distributors, and others as are necessary, either by itself or in concert with others, and to the full extent available under law. That is the resolution.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? All opposed? It is 4-1. Councilmember McPherson voting against.
The second part of that would be, if you choose to authorize the mayor, excuse me, also authorize the mayor to sign the agreement retaining the council to represent the city if we choose to participate in the litigation.
Do we need a separate motion on that? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
I think Verlin beat you to it.
Okay.
Motion made by Councilmember Best to approve, to let the mayor sign that resolution, seconded by Councilmember Carter. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? 4-1. Okay. Item number 3, dates and times for council meetings.
At the work session, we talked about the possibility of changing the way that we meet, and the most recent consideration was to eliminate our work session and to hold instead 2 voting meetings that would be held on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday night at 6 p.m. beginning in the month of October. So we have that as the most recent discussion, and need either at this meeting or the next meeting, I think, for a vote, if you're comfortable with that.
Well, we discussed that Thursday at the work session. I don't think that there's any reason why we wouldn't want to move forward on that tonight. So I move that we change our meeting schedule to 2 voting sessions and no work session, meeting on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month, beginning October 2018.
Have a motion seconded by Councilmember Best. Discussion? Well, I just go ahead.
The second Tuesday, sort of, with me, I have a meeting that they changed it to the second Tuesday because we were meeting on the first Tuesday. Now, that's conflicting with me, but if the majority votes for it, then I'll have to accept it. But I won't vote for it, but I'll have to accept it.
Okay. And just so the audience knows, the reason we discuss this, and I'll be very brief, is that our work sessions are really of no benefit to staff, and I can speak, being here 14 years, working, trying to plan everything, 4 weeks in advance to have everything in, and then have to wait another 4 weeks before you present something else, sometimes is a problem. And so our work sessions really were becoming more of a discussion, and we couldn't vote on anything unless we made it an actual special call meeting. And so I believe this will be a lot better. It'll work better for the public, quite frankly. We can move things forward, and it'll be better for the staff, hopefully. Although now, I know Elise is probably going, no, it won't be better for everybody, because now she has less time to get everything ready for us. But this was a move that I think the council looked at because it makes us more efficient as a council. Now, instead of meeting 1 time a month, we're meeting twice a month, because our work session, we could not legally vote unless we made it a meeting, council meeting. Further discussion?
Well, Mr. Mayor, given the information from Councilwoman Marchman, I think I would like to withdraw that motion until we can discuss a time that everyone can agree on. We don't have to make this decision tonight anyway, so we could wait a little longer. I think with that, I think that's probably what I'd like to do.
I don't want to purposely mess somebody up, anybody. So if you withdraw your motion, is there a counter motion? If not, then we will proceed.
Let's table it to next month where we can put our minds together, come up with some dates and times that would be appropriate.
Yeah, I move to table this to the, let's see, this is July, August meeting.
Okay, I have a motion to table this until the August meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? It is unanimous. Okay. Discussion of Senate Bill 17.
David, you want to handle this?
I will. This is the consideration of the issue that the legislature passed during this past legislative session. It's what's been commonly called the brunch bill. It authorizes any city and county to advertise a referendum in order to allow alcohol sales on Sunday to begin at 11 o'clock a.m. instead of the current law, which is that it can begin at 12:30 p.m. So it moves the hour to serve up an hour and a half. This is not voting on whether to authorize it or not. It's voting as to whether or not to put it on the ballot for the voters to choose whether they want to enact it or not. Since the work session the other day, I've had the opportunity to speak with the Carroll County Election Superintendent, and he has told me that Douglas County itself has already voted to put this on the ballot in Douglas County, so half of our city's going to be voting on it anyway, for countywide in Douglas County. So if you vote on it, it will allow the entire city of Villa Rica to vote on whether or not to approve it.
And I think as we discussed Thursday, this is, we already have an election ballot issue because we have the TAD, the redevelopment powers, in Carroll County as well as in Douglas County, and the T-SPLOST. So this would actually save us money to go ahead and do it now as opposed to waiting. At the very least, it doesn't cost us anything extra to do it. So
Correct.
I would make the motion that, actually, there's no motion here.
The motion would be to call for an election referendum in conjunction with the November ballot to place the Sunday brunch bill up for for an election.
Well, I'm going to make the motion that you just stated rather than try to copy that.
I second it.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion?
David, if Douglas County approves it, but we don't put it up for referendum, does the city govern or the county?
I think it would be the city would take priority over the county-wide referendum, which would make it very awkward if it's approved in Douglas County, but the Douglas County residents in the city of Villa Rica, are not affected by it.
So if Carroll County puts it up and we do too, and they don't approve it and we do, then it still
I mean,
still holds.
the city has jurisdiction within our municipal limits, and that is controlling inside the city.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I'm a firm belief that anything that you can put before the people and get their vote on, we should do that. So that's the reason I'm supporting that. Let the people have a say in this one.
So if Douglas County authorizes it and we don't, then the people in Mirror Lake don't vote on it.
They won't vote on the city referendum, they would be voting on the county referendum. I mean,
So if it gets approved in the county and we don't put it up for referendum, if it gets passed in the county, then it applies to the city?
no, I don't think it would apply within the city limits.
So it doesn't matter whether Mirror Lake votes on it or not, except for the rest of the county?
Yeah, but they do get to vote on it, even though it might not be applicable to the county folks. I mean, the city controls the rules in Mirror Lake inside the city limit.
But that's if we don't put it up. We just made a motion to
Right.
put it up.
That's correct.
So
Call for a vote.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? All opposed? 4-1. Item number 5, Mount Zion Water Service Delivery District.
Mr. Mayor, I can explain that one also. I'm the one who asked to have this put on the agenda. The city of Mount Zion has filed an application with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to get a grant, CDBG grant, in order to improve the water system in the city of Mount Zion. They have learned from their consultant that the current Carroll County Service Delivery Agreement, which was last drafted completely in 1999, has a section that every local government's water service delivery area is hand-drawn out on a map. It's just a little map of the county where somebody has drawn little circles around the cities. That map shows that the area in Mount Zion that they want to provide these additional water services to is not in the water service delivery as shown on that map. In order to proceed with their grant, they need to have an amendment made to the Carroll County Service Delivery Agreement that is going to correct the map to show that the water service delivery area of Mount Zion is coterminous with its city limits. Actually, probably every city needs to get this done besides Mount Zion, and we'll have an opportunity to do that when we completely renegotiate the service delivery agreement later on this year. It's important for Mount Zion to move it up because they have a deadline of August the 3rd to get this fixed so that they can proceed with the grant application, and they've been given some indication that they're likely to receive it if this problem can be fixed. So what you're voting on here is whether or not to amend the existing Carroll County Service Delivery Agreement to correct the map to show that the Mount Zion Water Service Delivery area is coterminous with their city limits.
Has every city in the Carroll County got to approve this for this to happen, or?
Yes, the county has to approve it, and every city who's a signatory on the service delivery agreement has to sign off on it, which is why, I'm bringing it to you. It really has no effect on Villa Rica at all, but you have an opportunity to help Mount Zion out.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve in a second. And you got the writing on that?
Resolution.
Yeah, the resolution is in your packet also.
Continue instead of term. You see, on your resolution, you got mayor pro term.
Yeah, either the mayor or the mayor pro tem.
It says pro term.
Either the mayor or the pro tem.
Part.
I'm sorry for that typo.
Well, we all make
That's not what I have on mine.
it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor? Unanimous. I know Mount Zion will appreciate that. Tab B, Finance. Sarah?
Good evening. I'm actually going to have to move over here to see my PowerPoint. I've been told y'all can't see the PowerPoint, but you can follow along on the summary sheet that is with the packet. Okay, this is your May financial update. Did the abridged version on Thursday. All right, this is our cash balance as of the end of May. You can see the total cash in the bank. It was $6.1 million at the end of May last year, and now it's $8.7 million at the end of 2018 May. The top three there, the general fund, water sewer fund, sanitation solid waste fund, are all part of our pooled cash account. A lot of our funds we operate out of a pooled cash account. So instead of having to write different checks out of 20 different accounts, although we do have that many bank accounts, we write checks out of one bank account. So you can see here the money attributed to these accounts. General fund, at the end of this time last year, we had $5.6 million, and we're about there at the end of May 2018. Water sewer fund, we see a big change here from a negative $744,000 to $1.4 million in May of 2018. We did do a transfer from SPLOST into the water sewer fund at the end of 2017 to help with the debt service payoff. That's part of the increase. We had also cut back on spending capital in this fund. We've been using SPLOST for capital projects the past few years, and also we've done the rate increases. So we're starting to see some improvement in this fund already. Sanitation and solid waste. Still negative here. We had a negative $316,000 last year, and that has grown to a negative $437,000 at the end of this past May, or a month ago May. And then those last three, those are our three current SPLOST accounts, 2008, 2015, and 2016. So at the end of May, we had a little over $900,000, almost $1 million in those three accounts. Okay, moving on.
Before you move on, Sarah, just, we always talk about the good points. So we're still in the negative. We're actually going the wrong way in our solid waste fund. So I know one of the reasons is because tipping fees have went up with Douglas County, which is where we carry. I think they went up, what, 100% or was it, what was the percentage?
Almost, yes.
And that was one of the reasons. And there were we had some personnel that were actually charged to another department that we've moved back in the correct department now. So.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, we were only showing 4 employees doing solid waste, but after talking to the department head, we know that there's actually more people doing the work, so we've realigned those appropriately. Okay. Next, want to show the growth in the city. This is new construction building permits as well as water and sewer taps. So in residential, you can see the growth from 2017 to 2018. At this time last year, we had 28 new building permits that had been issued. By the same time in 2018, we've already issued 93. At this time last year, we did have a few commercial building permits. We haven't had any this year, so through May, I think I'll have one next month. Again, this is new construction. We've had some remodels and things, but still seeing significant growth on the residential side. Going on. This is basically an income statement for our water and sewer fund. You can see at the end of May in 2017, we had lost almost $670,000, and this year we're still losing, but it's about 37% less. We've lost $420,000. So again, we've seen some improvement in the cash. We're seeing improvement in our income statement overall, but this is where, when we talked about the budget last year, we were saying we would need 3 years of rate increases. So we'll be talking about that as we're doing the 2019 budget. We'll need another round of rate increases to continue to fix this fund. Okay, sanitation and solid waste, same thing. This is our income statement for the month of May. Our loss has increased from 2017 to 2018, but like we said, we have increased our tipping fees, and we've also added 3 employees to this fund. So we've grown from a $111,000 loss to $144,000 loss. Okay, next slide. All right, this is a good slide. Wanted to show some highlights. So we've talked about enterprise fund, but I wanted to highlight a few things in our other funds. So our sales tax revenue has grown from $950,000 to almost 1.1 at the same time last year. So we're seeing retail going up, sales going up. Hotel motel tax revenue, we've hired a firm to do an audit, and with that, they have brought in almost $40,000 more in 5 months than we had brought in at the same time last year.
Stop.
What? So they're collecting for us still, and they'll do that for the rest of the year.
Right, so what that is the money that we get back from the hotel motel tax fees that are paid by the folks that stay. Last year at this time, we had taken in, what's the number at? $59,956. This year, we've taken in $100,281, and the biggest portion of that is because we had a lot of folks that wasn't reporting that should have been reporting, but now we have someone that's looking at that for us.
Yes.
And there's no charge to the city. They just get us a percentage of that, if I remember correctly.
We paid a fee at the beginning of the year, and now they remit the tax to us fully. So.
Okay.
What was that fee?
I want to say 8,000. So we paid
$8,000 and we recovered almost 50.
Yes.
I'll take that.
Yes. And I wanted to point out our water purchases. So at this time last year, we had already purchased almost $200,000 in water from Carroll County Water Authority, and so far this year we've only had to buy $78,000 worth of water. So kudos to Pete and the Public Works staff for all their work out at the water plant. Also, just kind of an interesting fact, I wanted to point out the number of employees. This excludes our seasonal employees. We bring in employees to run the summer camp and things. So at the end of May in 2017, we had 143 employees, and at this point this year, we have 152 employees.
But as you explained in the Thursday meeting, that doesn't mean we have 9 new employees or 11 new employees.
Not necessarily that many number of positions, but we've actually filled positions that have been open for a while. I know Pete's wastewater plant is finally fully staffed for the first time since he's been here. So
okay.
There are some new positions, but some of it's just actually filling the positions we had. And last slide. Always like to end on a positive note. This is our self-funded insurance, comparing the cash outflow on United Healthcare. So the orange box shows the checks we were writing last year to United Healthcare, whether we were using that money or not. They got to put that in their bank account. But now we move money every payroll to our bank account, and it sits there until we actually pay for administrative costs or claims to our doctors or to the pharmacies. So just the cash outlay difference is $261,000 that we have saved in, 8 months? So. Any questions?
I think my only question is, does staff have a plan on how we want to deal with sanitation and solid waste?
Bobby's been working on it. We've been talking about it. We've knocked it around with the guys in our Friday meeting. So what we've come up with will be part of what we talk about in the budget season during July and August. There's not a good solution. So we're gonna show you what we think we should do. Otherwise, we're on a path to do 2 more years of rate increases. And what we've seen historically is as we've charged more, people use the service more. And I'm not sure where we catch up, if we ever catch up. But the amount of solid waste that we're picking up has maybe quadrupled or something since we started charging for it. So we've helped on the illegal dumping side because there's no reason for somebody to do that because we're picking it up. But because there are no limits to it, what we're seeing is rampant contractor abuse that we don't have a way of controlling. So all the landscape contractors, instead of taking what they're cutting to the landfill or the transfer station, they're just putting it on the street and we're picking it up for free and paying for it. So it's a great deal for them. And same thing with, like a home remodeler or anybody else in a trade, they're just bringing everything, putting it on the street. So there's some genius to what we're doing, but I don't think it's sustainable. So Bobby's got some recommendations and we'll work on them in the next month.
Thank you.
Also wanted to let y'all know that the audit is complete for 2017. They'll be here at the August meeting to present that to you. And we do have a budget workshop tomorrow at Powell Park at 2 p.m. That's it.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Tab C, Human Resources, Stephanie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we are looking at the employee handbook, the last 6 items that I believe need to be discussed or approved by you. If you'll turn to page 14, which is the tobacco use policy. You had asked me to take out the phrase that allowed for department heads to designate a smoking area, so I have removed that. If you have any other comments, questions, that's all that I have changed on this policy, is taking out the designated smoking areas language.
Well, it looks to me like you added language that said that each department head would ensure that the city's policy is followed.
No, that was already there.
That was already there.
Yes.
Okay.
But it is the department head's responsibility.
That was the
to be
contradiction, I
accountable.
guess, that they would follow
Right.
the policy, but they would set up a way to avoid
the policy.
But, okay, thank you.
Did the department heads participate in figuring out what would work with you on this? Any input from them?
It was Sarah, myself, and Tom that put this together.
Council, how do you want to address these? I know we had a number. I received an email from Stephanie this afternoon late. I don't think that's in our packet.
What? The description of what I did to it? Or
Excuse me?
what's not in the packet?
You sent out an email after lunch,
I did.
and that's not in our council packets, correct?
It should be.
Okay.
I don't believe I saw that. Is it?
I did not tell you what I corrected in the council packet or in the email this afternoon. I just made notes on my own copy to go over it in this meeting. So on page 23, the criminal determinations, where it's the employee's responsibility to report those, there was discussion about adding the language where background checks would be completed on every employee annually. So I've added that to that section. It's just a sentence below the original portion of it.
Concern was that we would do it more than just upon hire,
Right.
especially in the recreation department. How is the burden to do it annually with you all in the police department?
It would be myself and Terry in the police department that would have the majority of the burden on it.
Is there something we need to hear from you all as far as, is that burden a very light one? Is this going to be
Well,
onerous?
she has to actually key in everybody's information into GCIC to get the backgrounds.
If we didn't do it every year and every several years, is there any recommendation? I just thought only doing upon hire, somebody could work for 15 years and would never do another background check, and if they're in recreation working with children, I mean, how many people self-report? I mean, some might,
Right.
but they could be doing something and have stuff we wouldn't know for years.
It's true.
So that's my only concern. I don't know what their job is like if they have to do this annually, so I'm just trying to ask.
We already do the motor vehicle checks annually, and I do that myself, so it's not that much because it's keying in information and getting a report back instantly. So, and that's what it is for background checks as well.
So is that the consensus that annually, and that works for you all?
If that's the recommendation, I don't mind doing it every 2 years. This policy actually requires that they self-report or
does.
be subject to termination. So whether you catch them in 1 year or you catch them in 2, it avoids the very long time that you're talking about. But I also believe that we're talking about 150 employees, and how long can that actually take to key in? I heard you just say probably doesn't take that long. So
You know, I spread it out over, when I do
Once
the
a
motor
year,
vehicle,
you-
I spread it out over a number of days.
or a
so-
week or something. So I have no problem either way. And the only cost to the city is just the time that it takes you to put it in, correct?
That and the paper, yeah.
And you don't have much to do anyway.
No, I don't have anything.
Oh, that's good.
I'm just kidding.
Don't throw that microphone.
So do we want to make it 1 year or 2?
I'm fine with the one that you already have written.
Okay. David,
Is
do you
that the
have any
consensus of
concerns?
council?
I'm fine.
I don't have any concerns other than just the practicality of it. If you can do 150 criminal background checks quickly, then I don't see a problem. It's hard for me to understand that it's not going to take 10 or 15 minutes for each one, though.
In overall, having the employee fill out the form, getting it to me or to Terry, and then us keying it in and getting the results, yeah, it could take 10 to 15 minutes total.
That's why I would defer to staff.
Yeah, so you're talking about having an employee spend, a full work week doing nothing but that. And you have to decide whether or not that's worth it for what
Let me
you're
ask
going to
a
get.
question. Would we have to get this form every year? Or would they
Yes.
do the form one time?
No, you'd have to do the form every year.
Would you consider doing it on the anniversary date of their employment?
We could
I mean,
consider
at
that,
that rate, you're not doing them all in a week.
right?
You actually are spreading it over the year. That makes
But
very
again,
good sense. to
and
me.
you're right, but the practicality of that, again, remember, you're going to have somebody who's got to check virtually every day or every 2 or 3 days to do that. And again, there's not a legal problem with it. It's just I'm trying to think how you practically do it.
Just seems to me it's a little more likely that something's going to slip through the cracks if we do it every other year. If you know it's something you're doing every year,
Right.
just do it.
I'm afraid it would slip through the cracks if you did it on anniversary dates as well. So I'd rather do them all at one time. That way you can just go ahead and check them off as you get them and as they're done.
Okay.
Are we aware of anybody ever that this has been a problem for?
I thought the mayor had pointed out that
What do
there
we do with our
were
coaches?
issues
We don't-
within the rec department.
We don't let coaches volunteer and coach for years without checking them, do we?
No. Recreation checks all of
And why do we
their-
do that? Because they're working with children. And that's why I'm not necessarily saying it here, but I just can't see allowing us, especially in recreation, to go for multiple years with never checking again.
Who does those? Do you do those? Police
No.
department do those?
Terry does those, I believe, in the police department. She does all of the background checks because we're not GCIC certified, so we don't have access to that system.
Whether you do it on the anniversary or whether you do it at one time each year, that seems to me to be the best way to do it,
One time a year.
once a year.
Absolutely.
You choose what works best for you.
I'm afraid that anniversary dates would slip through.
Is that the
Okay, either way.
consensus of council? Ms. Shirley? What's your, okay.
I'm okay the way she's doing it. She's doing it
She's
very convenient.
she's comfortable with it. I don't have a problem with it.
And it's really
She's
onerous,
gotta
let
do
us
it,
know.
so.
Because
Tom?
we're not there having to do what you do.
Okay,
Right,
let's go
it's,
ahead.
We need to know.
Tom has a comment.
Stephanie, are we only gonna do this after the person's been here a year? Because otherwise, you could hire somebody one week and have to do it again the next week,
Right,
if
if
that's your
if
year.
they've had a background check within the past 6 months, I believe that we wouldn't do it again until the next year. You know, if they've completed their probationary period, then yes, we would, but if they haven't completed their probationary period yet, which is 180 days.
Probably ought to put that in there then.
Could
'Cause
that
it's
go in
not
the
gonna be
procedures?
every year for everybody,
Could that go in the procedures versus the policy manual?
maybe.
Moving on. Other,
Like I said, we're gonna modify this.
well, that's,
Well, if it's in procedure, she can handle that without us taking any action on
Right.
it.
Right.
And that sounds like a procedure to me. So are we gonna vote on these individually or just
Your
discuss
call.
them like we just?
your call.
I think let's
However
just
y'all
vote on
want.
them individually since we saved all of these. So if we start with the tobacco use policy, I would make a motion that we accept the tobacco use policy as written and modified as has been amended.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the tobacco use policy as amended. Any discussion? Not all in favor? Unanimous? The next one is duty to report criminal charges and determinations.
I would make a motion that we amend the policy, the employee policy manual to include the duty to report criminal charges and determinations as have been amended.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Unanimous? The third one is loss and damage to city equipment.
If you'll turn to page 25 in the handbook. We had talked about the discounted facility rentals for employees. We have, after discussion with Tom, Sarah, and Vicky, we have decided to, loss and damage of city equipment, I'm sorry.
Okay, good. I got lost for a second.
I took out the word deliberately after an employee who loses his or her required uniform. I've taken that out because you can't really deliberately lose it, so.
And you're not going to confess if you did.
Right. So, that is the only change I made to this policy.
I didn't have a problem with this after discussion last month, so unless somebody else has an issue with it.
Make a motion.
I would make a motion that we amend the employee policy manual to include the loss or damage to city equipment as has been amended.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Unanimous?
Okay, now, discounted facility rental fees. Like, as I stated before, after discussion with Vicky and Tom and Sarah, we have changed the entire policy to where an employee can reserve one facility, one time a year for free.
What page?
Page 34.
I'm going to weigh in on this one because after I considered this one a little more, and I wasn't hostile to it in the beginning, but it just doesn't seem particularly feasible to me. We have some 150 employees. We don't have that many facilities. We rent these facilities out to the public. I would hate to have an issue where multiple employees were trying to get a facility, couldn't get it, and then at the same time, we had possibly a renter. So I just have some concerns with that, and others may want to talk about it, but that's sort of what that's where I'm thinking right now.
So what you're telling me is you're putting money over our employees?
I don't think our employees get a fair shot at it when you have 150 employees and just a handful of facilities.
Well, the way I remember the way it's done, Mr. Reese's expertise on this, there's a book at the rec department that you call over there and sign up with, and then go by and put a deposit down, and no matter what day that is, from January to December 31st, whatever year it is, then it's yours. And if you do not want to use it, you go by and take your name off and get your deposit back. But it still holds true that whether or not you're an employee of the city, then you still have to have a deposit for whatever's there, a cleanup fee or whatever you want to call it. But they just not charge the total amount of money for whatever. I support this greatly, but simply because of the amount of money we pay these guys and ladies on Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 2 o'clock in the morning. They're out digging ditches to put water in the community. At least we can do is maybe when their kid has a birthday that we give them a free shot at going to Powell Park or Gold Dust or someplace like that and have a nice birthday party for their kids. That's all reason I'm saying that is that's the kind of thing I think small towns do for their employees.
Just the practicality is the only thing I was talking about.
I agree with you. 152 into the facilities we have, but I'm not real sure that there's ever been probably more than 10 or 15. I don't know. Vicki, you know? A number of people that did the rental for the parks or recreation department, anything that they had to rent, the number of employees that did last year or year before? Okay.
The policy was the policy previously, they paid a fee just like everyone else, or it was free, or?
I can't hear you.
The
previous policy.
In the previous book stated that they got a 50% discount on everything, which was sports participation, facility rentals, merchandise, and there's one. So we just limited this to, because of the cost that we incur paying instructors, and it's based on the number of people in the class, that we took all of the other items out and just left it with facility rentals.
So as I understand it, what is in here, there'll be one free facility rental a year.
Correct.
Per calendar year.
Correct.
And other than that, if they want to do it twice, they've got to pay the next time around.
Pay the deposit and pay the fee.
My guess is that a larger number of them probably don't even rent a facility here. I don't know. But if it was, I did have a problem with the sports teams, everything else, and the classes, right. And that's all done. I don't really have any strong feelings one way or the other. If they were to rent it once a year, if it didn't turn into, get it for free once a year and it didn't seem as a problem, you would know better in the department than I would because you're renting them out. I don't want to have them out so free so often that other citizens can't rent it, but I don't know that problem. You know that in that department, so.
I would hope that if that becomes a problem, they would come back to us with it. So I make a motion that we approve
as amended, like
what she has in here about the free rental once a year.
Second.
A motion to second, further discussion. Not all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, tuition reimbursement program.
This program is designed to help employees who want to go get a college degree or just that's related to their current position. College degree or technical degree that is related to again their position within the city. I don't know if you've all have read it in its entirety, but full-time employment is defined as 30 hours per week or more. Okay. Courses have to be taken on their own time, not on city time. Once the grades are in, they pay the money up front, and then we would reimburse tuition, not fees, but just tuition. At a graduated rate. For an A, you'd get 100% back. For a B, you'd get 75% back. And for a C, you'd get 50% back. Or if you want to amend that, where you get 100% for an A, 50% for a B, and nothing for a C. I don't know. C's do transfer, so, and they count for credit. So, but that is, again, up to you. The employee must stay 2 years after a educational program completion, so a degree, or 6 months after one course. And if they do leave before that time period, then they will have to repay the city the expenses.
We talked about this on Thursday, and we got some information. Can you talk a little bit about whether or not you have looked at research that would suggest the impact this might have on retention or actually recruiting as well?
I have not looked at statistics, but I will tell you, I got my degree for free by doing it while I worked at the institution of higher education. So, you know, I'm a product of one of these. It does, I mean, the participation rate that I saw at the college was very high. But we did have to wait until after drop had to enroll in courses. So there was no guarantee that we'd get the courses we had. But I think it is a very good retention piece because it does help you play into that succession planning. If you see somebody that's promising but they need a degree to move forward within the organization, then you could help them attain that degree. And that way your institutional knowledge wouldn't walk out the door with you. So
one of the things that, you know, we have this police department that has to do these things. We have our water department that has to go back to school to be certified. That we pay for both, I think.
We do.
To me, the issue is whether or not the guy that's digging the ditch on the street wants to go back and learn how to dig ditches better. That's a little different. But if he wants to go back and learn something and to be a manager of those people digging ditches, I think that'll be important for us to be able to give him some money back to be able to do that. So to me, like you just said, our retention for people to stay around here a much greater length is important. And to use some things that Bobby has said and some things that Pete has said, we got water lines and sewer lines in this city that nobody knows where they go to. There are people out there that's worked for this city for a while that went on to other places because of lack of money that we could give them. They know where those things are. But if we allow those folks to go back to school and pay them to learn a different way of learning and finding these problems that we have over a period of time, I think it's worthwhile to be able to do that. I like the idea of what you're talking about as far as allowing them to stay for a period of time. Otherwise, they're going to have to repay the money that the city has given them. But you know, I just think that we're working toward a good workforce in this city, and to me, this is one of the best ways I know we can do it.
We've met.
Oh, go ahead.
This is one of my biggest problems with the entire handbook. I do not believe it is the taxpayer's responsibility to assist people to get their advanced degrees. I'm not saying that it doesn't benefit anyone. Part of the reason that tuition costs so much nowadays, I'm old enough to remember when actually you could work your way through school. Part of the reason it's so expensive for people to go to school is because it is subsidized, easy college loans, and that sort of thing. And so we have people walking around with giant debt. But why have people with giant debt when the city can absorb it with the taxpayers? Now, as far as getting it back in 2 years, my other question would be, if they choose to leave, we've reimbursed it, they've got the degree or whatever they've worked toward, how do we force them to give that money back? And so I'm not sure how that happens. I know that's the plan, and maybe there's something that can be written up. I think the biggest problem really is a degree doesn't necessarily make you better at your job, and I think even as a country as a whole, you'll see it in Silicon Valley and everywhere else, that we're moving more toward, can you do the job? Not necessarily you have higher degrees. Do you know your stuff? And I think that's what's important. Nobody learns better than mentoring. We do pay for courses. We pay for people to use stuff that's immediately applicable. It might not have calculus in it. It might not have some of the other courses they require to get in degrees that have nothing to do with what you're going to do, but it's required for the degree. I also had asked for a cost range for some of these degrees to even get a clue on what this would even cost. Now, I don't know if we have anything, but as far as I know, and what I'm looking at, I have no idea what this is going to cost to assist people to do this, except that the taxpayers are going to pay for it.
I think we all voted here a while back on job descriptions, and most of them had job degree, job certification, job experience involved with it. But most of the time, we don't hire people without previous experience or certification in some area. Whether we pay for that higher certification or not is something else. But in this case, to be able to get on with the city, it requires a degree of some type. So most people already have it. I'm not going to say all, but a lot of people already have it and have the ability to go on if they have the opportunity. I say again, your water goes off at 2 o'clock in the morning. There's a guy out there that's going to come dig the ditch and redo that water line where you can have water. If he wants to go back to school and learn how to dig that ditch better, then we ought to be able to pay for that. No matter, it's not going to cost that much. Just what Ms. Rooks just said a few minutes ago. It's not the total amount of money that we're talking about. It's a portion of the money we're talking about.
Well, let me just go back on what Councilwoman McPherson just said. I mean, when you talk about, so think about I went back and did a little research, and what I found is that one of the reasons this is coming back, it was pretty big a number of years ago, and then it kind of tapered off. The reason this kind of thing is coming back is because students are graduating from college and they're not ready to come in here and do this job. So when you talk about those folks who are already doing this job and who have institutional knowledge and people who learn that way, we are losing those folks. They're the ones who are walking out the door and going someplace else. A system like this allows us to take people who are already doing these jobs or doing some subset of these jobs. We then have, we've got them sort of on the hook. We're enticing them to stay with us over a longer period of time. They graduate. What is their incentive really to leave? There's really not a lot.
More money somewhere else in a bigger
because they
city.
are going to be paid based on getting that degree and being able to get that promotion. Where if we go and get that outside of the city, they come in, we spend an exorbitant amount of money in training and getting those folks up to speed. I have sat here for months, and almost at every meeting I have to hear about how we've lost institutional knowledge. It's because we lose people. They don't stay with us. This seems to me like a very minuscule amount of money to have that kind of retention within the city. And let's go back to what the money is. We're not actually talking about the actual cost of going to college.
No,
we're not
we're
even
not.
close. We're talking about tuition only. If you
Right.
look at a college invoice, like I do, I have kids in college, most of that money is junk fees, and I mean a significant portion of it. The actual tuition money is not what's the problem. I'd be much happier writing the tuition check. It's all of the other fees. We're not talking about paying that. That's not what we're looking at here. Also, you have to have been here for a year. You have to get this guy or whoever sits in this chair's approval. It has to be within your scope of work or reasonably a job that you could obtain. Doesn't make any sense to me. I see this as a win-win for the city. I can't even imagine how this is not part of recruitment and retention budgeting. It's not just a matter of throwing taxpayer money at somebody trying to pay someone's college bill. That's not what we're talking about.
Not at all.
We're talking about an investment in the people who are here to keep them.
Right.
I just want to add something to that, and I guess this goes along with it. And I've thought about whether I even want to say this or not, because I could actually make an argument both ways by saying this. But a long time ago, when I first started working for Cobb County, Cobb County had this program in place, and we're talking about in the 1980s. They already had this program in place, and they sent me to get my certificate of public management from the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. So, you know, Villa Rica benefited from that for 14 years, and now as the mayor, I still use some of the things that I learned. They also paid after that, after I graduated from that program, they paid to send me to get me CAD certified. So I am CAD certified on 3 different platforms, and that's computer-assisted drawing. And so a lot of the designs that we have here in Villa Rica and Douglas County and Cobb County, I worked there 17 years, you know, came from that knowledge that they paid for. So, you know, I can almost say, well, see, somebody else trained you, and we actually got the benefit of it. So, again, I could make an argument probably both ways, but the more important thing is that Cobb County invested in my future. And as a result of that, I can tell you in my own personal experience that I stayed there 17 years because they invested in my education. And as a result of that, I was a better employee for Cobb County. So, just that input.
I would just reiterate that I don't believe it is the responsibility of the city government to help people get higher degrees. I think we should pay our people fairly and take care of them and appreciate them.
I don't think the citizens of America would agree that a steady workforce is much more cost effective than having a revolving door of people coming and going. We have to retrain people when they come in here. We get new people, they got to be trained. So we lose the experience. So if we have a way to keep them here, I'm all for that.
Okay, I think we've discussed this now for an ample amount of time, so I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion, I can't read from over there. Make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager and human resource manager to implement the revised personnel handbook effective 7/10/2018.
I think we're only talking about,
We just talked about one part.
the tuition reimbursement program.
I'm out there. I'm looking at the motion at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's
I ain't got that far
All
yet.
right, excuse me.
So is your motion, council member, to
Yes,
adopt the tuition reimbursement program as written?
yes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Did you get that, Elisa? Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? 4-1. And the last item that I have is leave accruals.
That's correct.
Accruals.
This is also something to attract and retain your quality employees. We have changed this considerably. The first change is that employees in their probationary period will not accrue annual leave or vacation. At the end of their 180-day probation, if they complete it successfully, they will be given 5 days, which is what they would have earned if they were accruing leave all along, which right now, the way it stands is you come in the door, you start accruing leave. So we want to make it probationary based, okay? So they would get five days right after their probationary period, provided they could successfully completed it and it's not extended. Then 0 through 6 months, you would earn the other 5 days for that year. You just start accruing leave. Then years 6 months to After a year of service, you would still earn 10 days, but once you reach 4 years of service, you would start accruing 12 days. And then through 9 years of service, through 14, you'd earn 15 days. And then 15 or more years, you'd earn 20 days a year. The maximum that you can carry over is still 240 hours. Okay? So we did not change that. We did increase, currently when you start accruing leave, when you walk in the door, you earn 6 days a year. Then after a year, you earn 9 days a year. So we have increased the accrual rate substantially for the first 2 tiers. So. And this is not unusual. Our accrual rates were pitifully low compared to other cities and counties.
Discussion. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Hearing none.
Well, I talked with Stephanie about this, and I have no problem with the way it was written and the way it was revised, so I'll make a motion that we amend the employee policy handbook with the leave accruals as written.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? It is unanimous.
Now is the time for your.
Now's the time. Let me put my cheaters on. Make a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing city manager and human resources manager to implement the revised personnel handbook effective 7/10/2018, which I think is today.
Yes, it is.
I have a motion. Do I have and a second by Councilmember Carter. Any discussion? Only discussion I would like to say is thank you, Stephanie, so much for your diligence on this and for listening to our questions. And we have as far as I can remember, we have a doable personnel policy handbook now that's complete. So thank you for all your work on that. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Tab D.
Ask her when she's gonna give that to everybody. Ask her when she's gonna give that out to.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Not to backtrack on the last item discussion, but I wouldn't be the worker and the man I am today if the City of Powder Springs not helped me with my education. After 15 years of work, starting as a 17-year-old kid, I knew how the grunt side worked. I wanted to see how the design side worked. It took me 9 years to get my degree, and I stayed at Powder Springs for 3 months short of 30 years. So had it not been for them, I would probably not be standing here today. That being said, we have a tab 80.
There's one more thing to say.
Okay.
Roll Tide. Excuse me, thank you.
With that being said, we have tab ABL-05-18. We have an alcoholic beverage license application to operate a nano brewery by Mr. Brian Britt, doing business as Hickstown Brewing Company. His home address is 9500 East Tyson Road, Villa Rica, Georgia, 30180. The application location is 407 Main Street in Land Lot 161, 6th District, Carroll County, Georgia, Ward 3. Current zoning is Downtown Commercial Business District. If you can remember, a nano brewery, by definition, is a brewery that can produce less than 2,000 barrels or less of malt beverage per year. Staff has done the analysis. The proposed location is consistent with the existing zoning. There are no proximity restriction violations associated with this application. The applicant has successfully passed a background check by our police department and has complied with the ordinance with regards to legal notification requirements. Staff recommends approval of this application, and the applicant, Mr. Brian Britt, is present for questions.
Any questions for staff? David, we do need to have a public hearing on those,
Yeah,
correct?
this is a new application, so yes, we do.
Okay. Would the applicants please come forward?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm Brian Britt. I'm the owner of Hickstown Brewing Company, or hoping to be owner of Hicktown Brewing Company gets approved.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay. Seeing none, you can be seated, sir. We will open this up for public comments. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this, please do so at this time. Come forward, state your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing none, the decision will revert back to the council for what I hope is swift decision.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve the alcoholic beverage license for Hickstown Brewing Company located at 407 Main Street.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? All opposed? It is 4-1. Mr. Britt, you and Cindy, I've known you for a long time, and I'm excited about this. I think it adds something to the flavor of our downtown, pardon the pun. But if you go to any of the cities around the state of Georgia, you see, I remember when wine tasting first came up here, and people said, that'll never fly. Well, it did. I saw Randy earlier. There he is over there. So welcome to our community, and we're hoping this is the first of many little businesses that move here to Villa Rica. So thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, we would be remiss if we didn't remind Mr. Britt that by selling alcohol here in the city of Villa Rica, you are bound by all the laws with regard to selling to underage people, and that the Villa Rica Police Department will be conducting sting operations to make sure that those laws are enforced, and we're counting on you to make sure that in your establishment they are enforced. Thank you.
Brian, do we have an opening date or a proposed or?
I would like to be open by November 1st, definitely by the end of the year. A lot of variables, licenses, state, federal, equipment, so hopefully by November 1st.
Good deal. Thank you, sir. Next, Bobby.
Mr. Mayor, we have tab FP-02-18. It's a request for final plat approval for Townsend Village. The applicant is ALA Townsend Village LLC of Atlanta. A request of final plat approval for Townsend Village located at Alton Street, Villa Rica, Georgia. That's just off Daniel Road, land lot 160 of the 6th District, Carroll County, currently zoned R2, a residential townhome. The property consists of 18.88 plus or minus acres located in Ward 1. This development was platted originally in 2004, and the layout was done in a row house, I call it a row house or a townhouse concept, and one large building had many individual single-family structures barely connected on the back of the structures. This revision takes all the vacant property that are left and divides it into individual lots. Originally, the development had 126 single-family units. The revision makes it have 124 individual single-family lots. This replatting process was approved with the assistance of our city attorney. We had to get creative and try to figure out how to move it forward. Planning and Zoning Commission approved the plat on June 26, 2018. The staff recommends approval of the application. And I'm not sure if the applicant is, or an applicant's representative he is. He's here.
Questions of staff? David, we don't need a public hearing on this, correct?
No, I think we probably do, because we are changing the final plat that was approved by the city. I think the city, speaking on behalf of the legal department of the city, excuse me, this solves a huge problem that existed with regard to this tract. It was not, the way it was approved, it did not represent the way that it actually lay on the ground. This fixes that problem.
Okay. With that said, will the applicant please come forward?
I'm Mike Benefield. I work with Wake Journey Homes, and we're the ones that applied to get this replatted.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir. This time we'll open this up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this, please do so at this time. State your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing none, we will revert back to the council for a decision.
I make a motion to approve the final plat application for ALA Townsend Village for Townsend Village Townhome Subdivision.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Item number 4.
May I ask which item, is this where an item got removed in this section? Because I have one of the agendas that showed a little different format. Is there something that got taken off in community development? Okay, maybe it's a different order, thank you.
No, what happened was we printed it one time and one of the items had been left off. We put it back on there.
Okay.
So it was just a clerical accident.
So you have that drainage improvement.
Actually, it was the first item that I had.
Please proceed, sir.
Mr. Mayor, we have a tab RA-03-18/FLUM-01-18. This is a rezoning application for Steve and Teresa Pulver of Villa Rica, Georgia. They're requesting to rezone the property located at 414 Old Stone Road, Villa Rica, Georgia. We're in lot 192 in the 6th District in Carroll County. It's currently zoned R20 or single-family residential to O&I or office institutional. And if this zoning is approved, they have also requested to a future land use map amendment on the same property from low-density residential to public institutional. The property consists of 0.6 plus or minus acres and is located in Ward 3. The purpose for the rezoning is to remodel the existing structure for a medical office. Planning Commission approved this case on June 26, 2018 with the following staff recommendations. Permitted uses are limited to business, medical, dental, and professional offices. All improvements to be installed on the property prior to occupancy, and ingress and egress shall be permitted only from Old Stone Road.
Did planning and zoning look at this, sir?
Yes, they approved it with those conditions. And I'll give you some of the staff analysis. It's the UDC requires us to do a pretty substantial analysis on all rezoning applications. And one of the questions, and I'll go through, and it kind of explains the whole process here. One of the questions is whether there is a community need for and benefit from the proposed rezoning. The analysis by staff, the zoning of the property to office institutional would complement the existing institutional and medical uses in the vicinity. Tanner medical facilities are in very close proximity, as well as other medical offices, and the Medical Support Overlay District. The Medical Support Overlay District was added to the Unified Development Code in 2011 to provide an area in the immediate vicinity of the Tanner Medical Center for future hospital expansion and hospital-related support services and medical uses. You know, we talked at the work session, the Old Stone Road corridor, at least down past east of the hospital, is going to end up going that direction with medical offices in that area.
Questions of staff? Public hearing, correct?
Correct.
Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Steve Pulver, 2578 Chipping Court, Villa Rica.
Any questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, we'll open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this, please do so at this time. Please state your name and address for the record, and please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Seeing none, it will revert back to the council.
I make a motion, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to approve the application from Steve and Teresa Pulver for 414 Old Stone Road to rezone property from single-family residential to office institutional with conditions, and to amend the future land use plan from low-density residential to public/institutional, and the 3 conditions are: permitted uses limited to business, medical, dental, and professional offices, Number 2, all improvements to be installed on property prior to occupancy. Number 3, ingress, egress shall be permitted from Old Stone Road.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, discussion? If not, all in favor? It is unanimous. And finally, item number 4.
Mr. Mayor, we have, this is ABL-04-18. We have a request for an alcoholic beverage license for retail packaged malt beverages and wine for F&B Edge Road LLC. The licensee is Muhammad Usan Fazi. Home address 2204 Cannon Ridge Court, Marietta, Georgia 30064. And the location is 701 Edge Road, land lot 143, Douglas County, Ward 5. Current zoning of the property is general commercial, and the current land use is a convenience store. Applicant has complied with the ordinance with regard to legal notification requirements. Has had a successful background check run and conducted by a police department, and there are no location restrictions that would hinder the issuance of the license. Staff recommends approval.
Any questions of staff?
This already had it, just changed ownership, correct? It's the convenience store there.
Okay. This time I'd ask the applicant to please come forward. Applicant. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Usman Fawzi from 2204 Cambridge Court, Marietta, Georgia 30064.
Any questions of the applicant? Okay, David, you want to read your...
Yeah, you heard me give the speech earlier about underage drinking here in the city of Villa Rica, and the city is aggressively enforces all laws regarding underage drinking. So the city is expecting you to make sure that your your employees are trained and make sure that they card every single person, because our good Villa Rica police officers will be conducting operations there to determine whether or not you might accidentally be selling to underage persons. So we ask that you comply with all laws in that regard.
Yes, definitely.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll open up for public comment at this time. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak for or against this, please do so at this time. You know the rest of it. Seeing none, we'll revert back to the council.
I'll make a motion to approve the alcoholic beverage license application for F&B Edge Road, LLC, located at 701 Edge Road.
Second.
Have a motion and a second by Councilmember McPherson. All in favor? All opposed? 4-1. Thank you, sir. Tab E. Chris, I know you have a PowerPoint presentation.
I'll come back to it. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Afternoon.
Very simple item. We are asking for an agreement for alcohol sales for the August summer concert. This is an agreement that is in line with the other agreements that we've done in previous agreements this year. Same terms, conditions. The city attorney has prepared this, so he has had an opportunity to give his stamp of approval. I have went back and provided a list for all the events at the amphitheater that is organized by Main Street, just to give an outline of the events that we have either in the past or anticipate in the future. Request an alcohol agreement for beer and wine, just to kind of highlight the fact that we are scheduled or slated to do 10 events this year. We are either have or going to request to serve beer and wine at 4 of those events, just to highlight that we're not asking or requesting for all of our events at the amphitheater. The only reason that we have asked to do beer and wine sales is in response to community feedback that we've gotten when we do public focus groups. Every year we do a focus group where we invite the community to come in and provide feedback about what they would like to see in downtown. And so this request is a response from that in the last 2 years where we've asked, where the citizens have asked to be able to have beer and wine at specific events. I would entertain any questions at this time.
Well, I asked this question on Thursday, but the chief's not here, and I don't see there's Captain Parker. To my knowledge, Chris, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but we've never had an issue at any of these events that we've had beer and wine at.
Any alcohol-related incidents.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, I move we approve the 2018 license agreement between the City of Villa Rica and the Olive Tree Villa Rica for the purpose of selling beer and wine at the 2018 August summer concert.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Let the record reflect 3-2. Councilmember McPherson and Marchman. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Chris, again, I just want to echo my thoughts. Godspeed, good luck to you. I know you'll be an asset wherever you are.
Thank you. If I could have like 2 seconds of personal.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I just want to say it was, when I came to Villa Rica, I was in personally a very bad place. I will say that I had went through a lot before I came here, and I tell my friends and family, Villa Rica really saved me. Not that I was going to commit suicide or anything, but this place gave me purpose and gave me some opportunities to do some very amazing things. And so it was a very, very difficult decision. It took me about a week to really come to terms with the decision, but it was just too good of an opportunity to pass down. To be quite honest, I didn't even apply for the job. They actually called me and asked me to apply for the job, so I think that's a testament to the work that we've done here in Villa Rica. So I'm very excited about it. I will tell you, my kids were very disappointed. They probably love Villa Rica more than I do. And they weren't very happy about leaving. So I just want to say thank you to the council and all of the staff and the citizens. I've had some, not tear up, I've have made some very long-lasting relationships. I mean, the Mollers are a family, as they jokingly say. This is very affectionately, Randy tells everybody I'm the child that got left outside too long. So, there's been a lot of people that have really made me feel at home here. So it was not very easy for me to leave, but I definitely will always have a very special place in my heart for Villa Rica. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, next item on our agenda is tab HF. He gets me a little bit teared up. But item number 1, David, you want to talk us through this one?
Well, I think we were going to get a city manager's report first.
The city manager.
That's right, we moved it, that's right, my bad. Go ahead, Tom, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take it. You're
All right.
2 hours away.
Several things to talk about since the last meeting. One of the things that we've been working on is the mini roundabout at 61 in Punkintown. We have been engaging someone to help us with the ground penetrating radar because we need to relocate a water line and there's rock in that area. As you well know, if you remember the library construction. So we had that individual out here last week. We think we've located a route that will get us around or through that. We're going to have to jack it more because it's a state highway. So that's progress. We've already done the survey work that would enable us to establish temporary easements. And as we've said before, the GDOT part of this project on the design has been completed for some time. So as we can get the easements in place and the utilities relocated, then it's in GDOT's lap, and they're going to do this as a quick response project, similar to the Highway 61 Hickory Level project.
Is that an oxymoron, GDOT
Yes.
quick response?
Yes. And it's not mine. I'm not the originator of that. I'm just copying it. I've also heard that our district commissioner for GDOT District 3, Sam Welborn, has retired or is retiring, and we're going to get a new commissioner on the Carroll side. So we have 2 GDOT commissioners. This is the Carroll side who operates out of the Cartersville office. The water and sewer,
Excuse me a second, do you know who that is?
I've heard.
Okay.
It has not been announced
Okay.
that I've heard officially. So I'll tell you about that as soon as I hear that officially. Pete has been working with Carter and Sloop, who you approved to do the water treatment plant improvement, so that's underway. Poor Brennan, who we hired to go out and evaluate all the lift stations, is just about finished. I think he's got a couple more to look at that had access problems. We also engaged an engineering firm, Goforth Williamson, is that right? And they've been pulling the pumps and looking at them. So we're going to get a gig list at the end of this of at least $500,000 worth of work. So new pumps, all kind of safety issues, electrical issues, control issues, a couple of wet wells that need to be rebuilt. And that's without getting into the issue of whether we can redirect some of the flow on 61 in particular and abandon some lift stations that we have, because I think we have about 9 just on the 61 corridor, and run the flow farther south with gravity to a bigger lift station. So we're going to get into that too. So the $500,000 is just if we fix what we have and don't make it better in the long run. We also have an RFQ that's out for the inflow and infiltration project, which is to help us identify where rainwater's getting in the sewer system, and then we're having to treat it at either one of the plants. We only got 2 bids, but really good firms, and so that should come to you in August for a decision. We have an RFP that's out, but has not closed, and that's for the improvements on Edge Road and or the Liberty Road Bridge that would give us better flow and pressure in the Liberty Pool Road area. So that one's moving along. Let's see what else we need to talk about here. We did health screenings back in the spring. It looks like I don't remember the exact number, but maybe all but about a half a dozen employees participated. We're getting ready to work with a couple of the folks that we've contracted with to present to us a proposal for what we're going to do next as far as wellness and attacking some specific conditions that we're seeing come up over and over again. We've also met with representatives from Tanner because they have both an internal and a community wellness apparatus that we could also plug into. So just to make it more fun, we'll probably try to do something with the 2 of them because Tanner's already here and they're very effective from what I can gather in what they're offering to small organizations. So we'll probably try to do something that joins the 2. Sarah's already talked about the audit. We'll have that report here next month. Jim has been working on the servers, trying to get them in a rack in a facility in Bremen so that we have some off-site capability. And just to give you an idea of the nitty-gritty of doing that, he told us in staff meeting yesterday that one of the things that he had to purchase was some kind of little fiber connector, and the list price of these little things, they're about, if you've ever bought mechanical pencil lead, they're not much bigger than the little container that comes in. They're $1,100 a piece retail. And so being the Scrooge that he is, he went out and bought some, off-brand for $20 a piece.
Wow.
And the equipment wouldn't recognize it because the equipment is written, the code is written in such a way to only recognize an HP product number.
Imagine that.
Right, so they're in cahoots, right? So then, not to be deferred by that, he went out and found that same product, the HP one, the one that would work for $200 a piece. instead of paying the $1,100. So I give you an idea. We're spending a lot of money on IT right now, but he's got our interest at heart and is doing a good job at saving money where we can. All right, public meetings that have been held since we met last. We've had several that you know about that you've attended. The comp plan public meeting, the walk and trail public meeting. Many of us attended the GMA conference in Savannah. We had a leadership luncheon with Rich Stinson from Southwire as the speaker. We recently had a great fireworks show, big crowd. Last year, I attended early enough that I didn't really perceive of the madness on 61 during the event. This time, I didn't come until 7, and I could almost not get to the place, right? But there were cars at 7 o'clock, 2.5 hours before the fireworks, parked in the commercial area in front of Bay Springs neighborhood. If you can picture that, there's like one little commercial stretch in front of the neighborhood. It's sort of an odd part of the development. There were already people that far north, and I went out at 8:30 and walked out to 61 just to see what it looked like, an hour and a half later. And it's madness. There are people parked from the top of the hill, which is the tractor place, the Kubota place, both sides of the road, and completely filling the median, all the way down the hill to the red light, and then all the way up the hill south to Carrollton to the top of the next hill. And I don't mean with 1 or 2 people per car. There's 4 and 5 and 6 people per car hanging out, tents, tailgating. And that's all on a state highway. I can't believe the Georgia State Patrol doesn't completely, or GDOT or somebody doesn't have a fit. But
They're right there watching too.
Right, they're at the top of the hill.
they may be.
They did estimate, I want just to add to that, I mentioned it Thursday, but talking to some of the state patrol, they said they estimated the crowd within the viewing area to be between 20 and 30,000. So that's a lot of folks.
Yeah, we were estimating 20 easy, just sitting where we were looking at the crowd inside and outside. And I haven't been on so next year I got to go on the South Bend work side, because I understand there's some stuff happening back there too. Right, they're in your driveway. I don't know what. Jerry Knowles. Okay. Wow. So anyway, I got to go see that one too. But so we're getting. I mean, that is a truly regional event. That's a great draw. And then we've had budget meetings. So we met at the library. We've had 2x2s. We got another one tomorrow. You know about all those. All right. Then we've got some personnel updates. So one of the biggies for us right now is code enforcement. So when I got here, we had 3 part-timers. One of them retired. We've made one of them full-time, but he's working a good bit of the time on the commercial soil erosion control side, along with some new residential development. We have a part-time building inspector, because that's what we found, right? And Bobby recruited her from Bowden, which hasn't 40 many points over there, but it's been great for us. So we have a part-time inspector and only 1.5 code enforcement officers, and you approved 3 when we brought that to you. So Bobby has found somebody who is a county building inspector supervisor who lives in Alabama but works in Atlanta, that wants to back off a little bit. So he's going to retire from his current full-time position and go to work for us, and is open to doing code enforcement and building inspection both.
Wow.
Right? Master plumber, been supervising building inspector. So we're really going to strengthen the team there, and we'll see how long we can keep him. But he's going to cut his drive. What did we figure? Cut 2/3 of his drive off every day. So some benefits to him, and this will be a little bit more laid back than where he is now in Atlanta. So.
Is that the way you sold it to him? This will be more laid back?
Ask Bobby. I've never met the guy. Bobby did this.
That's what we told you too, Bobby. Is it more laid back? Never mind.
Yeah, well, we haven't had that conversation, so. I don't
You ain't got to the full 1 year budget yet.
Yeah, that's true. All right, we have 3 candidates going to the police academy. Go.
He's retiring as the DeKalb County Supervisor for Building Inspection. He and his wife bought 90 acres in Tallapoosa 31 years ago, and they built a small house, and he's still traveling a lot, but he's tired of the downtown.
Good find.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a
Yeah.
real asset. All right, so Parker has been, and the chief have been bringing new people to me. 3 candidates going to police academy in August. And if I understand, we're going to be full, right? And that hasn't
Right.
happened in a while. So we'll see. We've got some other guys that are thinking about leaving and going to other places too. So that may not solve all our problems, but that's pretty encouraging. And then I had made a note here to talk about Chris some, and you stole my thunder definitely, which was appropriate. And I did want to say this though. So Chris is going to a place, if you can imagine, we're like maybe 75th in the state in population. So the place he's going is like one of the 10 biggest cities in Georgia, right, to start with. And we just went on this road trip and looked at Duluth, Swanee, and Sugar Hill, where those communities are trying to establish either a new town center or a town center from scratch, right, where no town center existed at all. That's what he's going to get to do, right? But not Sugar Hill, which is a little bigger than us, but like one of the 10 biggest cities in Georgia. He's going to get to do that, one of these new cities. So it's a great opportunity, and I'm interested to see how that works, because the landmass of that city is bigger than a lot of counties in the state. And it's a massive area. So just a great opportunity for Chris. And then last of all, I wanted to talk about an item that I need help with. We have at least 2 subdivisions right now that are having issues with on-street parking. And Bobby and David and I are going to have to put our heads together, but I'm thinking that we at least want to explore the possibility of restricting parking on one side of the road, because what we've done is had Carroll County Fire come out a couple of times with trucks, and they demonstrated that they can't get through. Okay, so we've got to do something. The question is, who's going to be the bad guy? Because one side of the road is going to win and one side of the road is going to lose if you're the resident. And so what I'm thinking is that we talk about having the HOA make the decision for each street, each block.
If there is one.
Right. Well, in both these cases,
Yeah, there is one.
they exist. Now, I don't know if that's legal. I don't know if it's practical, but we're going to be talking about that and bring something back to you. So I need you to be thinking about how much you want to get involved in that. But we need to do something, because we're on notice now that as it stands, when cars are parked on both sides of the road the way they're doing, that the fire truck cannot get in. Right? So we got to do something. And I'm thinking we don't want to make that decision. We want to authorize it once it's decided which block, which side of the road is going to be banned, but that we try to put that on the HOA. That's where my head is right now. That may change in a month after we knock it around and y'all talk to me, but anyway, I'd like for y'all to be thinking about that. That is my update.
Thank you, sir. Now, executive session.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I propose that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing or deliberating upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, or periodic evaluation of a public officer or employee.
I'd make that motion.
Have a motion to go into executive session? Second. And a second. All in favor? We are in executive session. Stick around, folks.
Just for the purpose of our news media here, I would anticipate that some action may be taken subsequent to the